Hi. So now we are going to start the next lecture for the security of India. So today we are going to start with terrorism. Okay. So where we were? Yeah, terrorism. Okay. So what do you understand by terrorism? India as victim of state-sponsored cross-border terrorism has been at the forefront in highlighting the serious threat to international peace and security from terrorist group. Institute for Economic and Peace Global Terrorism Index rank India 8th in the world on the list of countries most affected by terrorism in 2019. So, Institute for Economic and Peace Global Terrorism. Political consensus. What are the reasons? Union government should have intensive intervention with the state and union territory while drawing the national strategy. Good governance should be there. Socio-economic development, high priority being given to the development work and actual implementation of the ground. Respect the rule of law. Government agency must not be allowed to transgress law even dealing with that critical situation. And building capacity, empowering intelligence gathering, machinery, security, and civil administration and the society, providing appropriate legal framework, also effective enforcement with the sufficient safeguard, countering the subversive activity of terrorists, also like civil opposed to military measure to counter terrorism insurgencies should be there. So, Indian counterterrorism measures at national level, National Investigation Agency, National Intelligence Grid, NATGRID, National Security Guard, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967, Prevention Financing of Terrorism through Prevention Money Laundering Act 2005. At international level, intergovernmental framework to control terrorism, US resolutions such as measure to prevent terrorism from acquisition, weapon of mass destruction, convention on the prohibition of use of nuclear weapon, proposed to comprehensive convention on international terrorism, CCIT, use India, US India Homeland Security Dialogue, Mumbai, part of global network, city terror fights, countering terrorist financing, Financial Action Task Force is there, BRICS Counter Terrorism Strategy, Shanghai Convention Combat Terrorism, Separatism and Extremism. Unlawful Activity Prevention Act. Amendment is 2004, criminalized indirectly supporting a terrorist organization by raising fund. Amendment in 2008 broadband to scope of provision fund to ensure a wider coverage financing of terrorist offense. Amendment 2012 expand the definition terrorist act include offense that threaten the country economic security. Government empowered to designate individual as terrorist if only organization should be designated a terrorist organization. Investigation National Investigation Agency approved for Director General of required for seizure of property connected with terrorism. Empowering the NIA rank of inspector to investigate cases. Address the International Convention for suppression of act of nuclear terrorism schedule under the act. So Ministry of Home Affairs is there. 72% rise in number of unlawful terrorist activities. So provide for more effective prevention of certain unlawful activities. Act defines unlawful activities as any action taken by individual or associated that leads to cession of the part of territory of India, question the sovereignty of India, and disrupt the integrity of India. Commit or participate act of terrorism, prepare the terrorism, promote the terrorism, or otherwise involved in terrorism. So they are the old terrorists. Okay. So first of all, Terrorist and Disruptive Activity Act 1987 made, and Prevention of Terrorism Act POTA was there 2002. Maharashtra Control Organization Crime Act Makoka was there. Gujarat Control Terrorism and Organized Act Gatok was there. Gujarat Control of Terrorism and Organized Crime Act 2019. So appeal mechanism tribunal to review here an appeal. There is a national investigation agency for that. Okay, to uproot the terrorism from India. since 2001. Focus on individual, not designating individual as terrorist. Opportunity to circumvent the law, and they would simply gather under a different name. Context of lone wolf attack, which do not belong to any organization. Quicker process of justice delivery, reduce delay in attacking the proceed. Seizure of property connected with terrorism without taking approval. Director General of Police in case of investigation conducted by officer National Investigation Agency. Vague and what are the problem with the Unlawful Prevention Activity Act? Vague and unclear definition. There is no clear definition of terrorism. Excessive discretionary power is given to the unlawful prevention authority, and challenges to fundamental rights like article 14 violating, article 19 is violating, 21 is violating, and can be imprisoned up to 180 days without a charge sheet being filed. That is very difficult to be curtail that. Contrary to the principle of innocent until proven the guilty, even National Human Rights Commission said that it is against the civil and political right of the person. So it is again the Universal Declaration of Human Rights also. Low conviction rates, like 2.2% cases registered under the Unlawful Prevention Activity Act. Okay, issue of appeal process is very difficult. It will be up to 3-member review committee. What is the conclusion? Need to be balanced human right and constitutional values, and making the special provisions for stringent law for the terrorism, and act is crucial for expediting prosecution terror cases and followed by agencies. Okay, now Financial Action Task Force. What do you understand by that? It is global money laundering and terrorist financing watchdog, sets international standards. So 37 member of the country including India, to regional organization, European Commission, Gulf Cooperation of India. So 1989 summit Paris initially examined and developed the measure combat money laundering. Later extended its mandate to incorporate effort to combat terrorist financing, finance of proliferation of weapon, mass destruction, and adding to money laundering. So special recommendation to combat the terrorism and terrorist organization, and legitimate funds should be there, and money derived from charity, unlawful funds, and drug trafficking, money laundering, smuggling, illegal arm trading should be reduced. Financial Action Task Force financing is setting global standard, comment terrorist financing, and recommendations are not binding, but it's related to the terrorist funding. Criminalizing the financing of individual terrorist and terrorist organization, freeze terrorist asset. So detect करना है, prevent to detect, investigate, prosecute financing of terrorism, and blacklisting is also there. So high risk jurisdiction if there is. So deficient in their anti money laundering and counter financing of terrorism is there. And economic sanctions can be it can apply the economic sanctions against the countries like North Korea and Iran are blacklisted in the Financial Action Task for North Korea and Iran. And grey list, we can see the Pakistan, recently Pakistan was grey listed, and formally committed to working with the Financial Action Task Force against the terrorism. Okay, and monitoring is also there. Now implementing financial provision, United Nations Security Council resolution on terrorism also there, to detect, disrupt, punish, prevent the terror financing. So Financial Action Task Force recommendation and other reports: understand and assess low terrorism is maybe finance, enabling the financial institution and non-financial business and profession to detect the possible terror financing, develop a framework, urgently freeze fund and asset of terrorists, prevent abuse of non-profit organization, establish control over cross-border transportation, ensure proper information, create a financial intelligence unit to collect, analyze the information of terror financing. Next is, what is the bioterrorism? What do you understand by bioterrorism? So a parliamentary panel has highlighted the need for the government to have law to counter the bioterrorism in its reports, the outbreak of pandemic COVID-19 and management. Bioterrorism is a planned and deliberate use of pathogenic strain microorganisms such as bacteria, virus, and a toxin to spread life-threatening disease on the mass scale in order to devastate the population of the area. This agent, delivered by the Scud missile, motor vehicle, spray, hand pump sprayer, book, later gun, remote control, and robots. So origin such as disease attack. So category A is high priority agents are there. National security, because they can be easily disseminated, transmitted from person to person, like anthrax by Bacillus anthracia. Category B is there like glandar, Burkholdia, malady, brucellosis species are there. Category C is engineered for the mass dissemination in the future emerging infection disease such as Nipah virus and Hanta virus. India high vulnerability of the bio terrorism, inadequate medical facilities, subtropical climate conditions, poor hygiene, and inadequate sanitation facilities make India extremely susceptible. Control its impact on society. Even bioterrorism pupil can affect society, government of country. Biological weapon can cause large scale mortality and morbidity. Increase attack due to advancement in technology also. Detection by the law, deterrence by the law. What the mechanism we can take? Public health prevention, detection by the law. Biotechnology management, epidemic bioterrorism disaster bill 2007, which defined the term epidemic, isolation, quarantine, and social distancing. Need to repeal the Epidemic Disease Act. Epidemic Disease Act 1897 should be repealed. Epidemic Disease Act 1897 to provide better prevention, spread dangerous epidemic disease. National Disaster Management Authority instrument where participation of both government and private sectors is prerequisite to manage the biological disaster. Integrated disease surveillance project is there. So it's a decentralized IT enabled disease surveillance system, epidemic prone disease. Integrated international health regulations are there. So 2007 it helps to ensure outbreak and other public health emergencies. Biological weapon convention was there in the stockpiling, production, development, and biological of toxic weapon. Interpol Bioterrorism Prevention Unit, it aims to enable law enforcement agency to prevent, prepare, and respond the deliberate bacteria, virus, biological toxin. Cartagena Protocol Biosafety is for the transport and use of living modified organism (LMO). Living modified organism are there. So Cartagena Protocol is there for the living modified organism and the transportation of all that. Okay, so medical management, general public's sensitization, prevent, promote curative service, and through training and education. Next is Naxal violence. What is the Naxal? So first of all, Bihar, West Bengal, Jharkhand, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, and Maharashtra. They are the Naxal affected areas. What are the Ministry of Home Affairs said about the left wing extremism? District added to the left wing extremism like Chhattisgarh, like Kabir Dham, Kerala, Wayanad, Malappuram, Palakkad, Madhya Pradesh, Mandala, Odisha, Angul, Andhra Pradesh, West Godavari. Odisha is Khonjor, Mayurbhanj, and Ganpati and Jaipur. Bihar is Patna, Bhojpur, Shor, Sitamarhi, and Bagusarai. Chhattisgarh is Sarguja, Korea. And Andhra Pradesh is Prakasham and Kurnul. And Jharkhand is Devgarh, Pakkur. And Maharashtra is Aheri. Third most affected Chhattisgarh, Sukma, Rajna and Jharkhand, Bokaro, and Odisha, Koraput, Telangana, Bihar, and Andhra Pradesh and Maharashtra. Naxalism is a form of armed insurgency against state. It is left-wing extremism of Maoist. In 1967 uprising in Naxalbari, West Bengal, Communist Party of India, Mao Zedong was the leader of that party. Chinese political leader Mao Zedong believe in the political theory and derived from the teaching of the Mao Zedong. Okay. So concentrated in the eastern part of the country, it is called the Red Corridor. So counter-insurgency operation by the center affected state, COVID pandemic. There was a lockdown also, and critical supply was not there, cut the supply. Left wing extremism related incident in the 47% it increased in during the COVID. Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand continue to account 69% incidents. What are the issues they were dealing with? First of all, evasion of land ceiling law, special land tenures, encroachment, occupation of government community land, powerful basis, lack of title, public and cultivated land, poor implementation of the law and tribal land, and non-regularization of traditional land rights. Governance related issue like corruption was there, ill trained motivation was there, misuse of power was there, pervasive electoral political will was there, unsatisfactory working was there, forest right act was not enabled, and government institution was not according to that. Displacement and forced eviction was there. Displacements cover mining, irrigation, power projects were there, large scale land acquisition, public purpose without appropriate compensation and rehabilitation. Livelihood related issues, lack of food security and traditional occupation was lack of affirmative work opportunity, deprivation of traditional right and common property resources. So important initiative to for the left wing activist, police and public order should be there. National Policy and Action Plan, Ministry of Home Affairs, multi-pronged strategy in the area of security development, ensuring right and entitlement of local community. So major some schemes are there: security related expenditure, strengthening the capacity of left wing, special central assistant, 30 most left wing districts, special infrastructure scheme is there, 240 fortified police station, assistance to the central agency for left wing, civil action programs are there, bridge gaps between security force and local people, media plans, schemes, mouse propaganda. So what we can do for that? First of all, smart leadership, aggressive strategy, motivation and training, actionable intelligence, dashboard based KPI, harness technology, action plan for each theater, no access to financing. Ministry of Affairs Samadhan. Samadhan is the plan for the left wing extremism related areas. So, 8 plans are given in Samadhan: smart leadership, aggressive strategy, motivation training, actionable intelligence, dashboard based KPI, harness technology, action plan for theatre, no access for financing. So left wing mobile tower project is also project under Universal Service Obligation Fund, mobile tower project. National Technical Research Organization NATRO for anti-Naxal operation. Project Roshni skill development in the Naxal area. Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushal Yojana. ITI and skill development. Black Panther Combat Force was there in Chhattisgarh, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh. Bastariya Battalion was there in CRPF and infected district in Chhattisgarh. Separate vertical in NIA. Multidisciplinary group to check funding of Naxalites. Multidisciplinary group for the NIA, IB, CBI, ED, DRI. Constructive engaging youth through education, livelihood education and livelihood colleges. More bank branches, all India radio stations should be there. Prevalence issue of handling left wing extremism, negligence of establishing standard operating procedure, leadership issue should be there, like IPS officers should be deployed there. Struggle with capacity building, even left wing extremism are well trained and guerrilla warfare, fast moving small scale actions, inefficient technology of deep planted mine detection, laundering are next. So what are the greyhounds in Andhra Pradesh? Andhra Pradesh greyhound are an elite force trained in the jungle warfare and counter Maoist strategy, pinpointed to operation with great success, coupled with a surrender and rehabilitation policy also. So department to ensure that welfare scheme and infrastructure project. Okay, learning from the best practices, greyhound in Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh police also to learn, eliminating the root cause of problem, financial empowerment, self-help group to be improved, all that. Infrastructure development should be there, and forest rights should be provided to the Naxalite area and tribal area. cooperative federalism to be there, leveraging the use of technology, tracking and imaging, radar, satellite, and all that. And chalk funding should be there, so transportation extremism should not be there. And role of media and building trust and awareness generation. Okay, now overground worker. Okay, now we will discuss next.